Part 3. It is the post-apocalypse. Started by a band of devastators. In the midst of destruction, you have political groups fight. One group of children against Roman soldiers and primates. Of Mexican militias versus hardcore football players of African descent. So many political factions fighting for control, for a new constitution in a new America. But among all these bullshitters, you have one girl with gray skin and pink eyes who fights for freedom, along with a music man turned doctor, witch doctor, and a Japanese prodigy kid, a self-made genius, against one common enemy, one evil alien tyrant from another planet. So after a tussle between two political groups, the Mexican militia and the Skullbashers, Rosemarie, Gino, and Rye, the newest member, they go back to the Symphony and Concert Hall, the base of operations. Rosemarie realizes they've been hacked. The doors have been broken into. They have front doors with sliding iron bars. So Rosemarie and Gino prepare to go inside with guns trained. You know, it's like somebody breaks into your house, you carry your gun or your knife. So Rye says here, "Gomenne, dozo." So he gives them. The little kid gives her the guns, and he says, "Watashi wa Rye desu." So I am Rye. So Rye, me, I help you. So his English is not that good. And then he says, "I make dragon truck, you guns, helicopter, jitensha, bicycle." So Rosemarie, she's shocked that this kid is that smart, that he was helping her the whole time. This kid had a backstory of, being the smartest kid in his class who used to play baseball with his friends, but realized he could do more with his life. So he did what he wanted to do at age 7, 8, 9 years old, and he impressed his parents until the devastation occurred, and then he was all on his own. But this is a child who could build anything out of anything. And so he's been helping Rosemarie with the helicopter bike, with the electric snap trap guns, with the arsenal, with everything. So Rye's been kind of behind the scenes. So Rosemarie confronts somebody, and she confronts, a large guy, looks like King Hippo from Punch-Out. So King Hippo and King Kong Bundy, Butterbean, also from Jose Luis Sin Censura. That would be Jorge, of course. He kind of looks like Donkey Kong. So after the devastation, he grew a bit larger, like 7 feet tall. He's got like moss all over his body. He's wearing a milk crate cracked open on his head. So he's like this living chia pet, like with green moss everywhere. Green moss. Sometimes he's wearing like a watermelon on his head. And you can see him big and temperamental. So he's a large person, like 300 pounds. 300 pounds and more. 350 pounds, but 7 feet tall with these giant gorilla-like arms. So he's like the heavy. He's literally the heavy. So El Osito from Jose Luis, Bouncers, Bodyguards. Big type wrestler-looking guy. So that's who he is. Doesn't say too much, but you can have a laugh and a joke, and he's just a big, tough guy. So after a tussle, Jorge lands on top of Ryan Gino. He says, tasquete, help us. Could you give us a little bit of help, because it's an exclamation, help, help me. I know my Japanese like almost right away when I look at this. So Rosemarie has a disagreement, and somebody else comes in. So there's 5 people total. So Drake, based on me. Jorge's based on another person I met at school. Rye is based on a Japanese kid I met in college. So the other 4, Rosemarie, Gino, Rye, and Rosemarie, Gino, Rye, and Jorge are based on college mates from college. And Drake is based on me. So this is all very important to me. So Rosemarie turns to see this man, very skinny like a zombie. So Drake whispers, "Shut up a moment. This is me. This is who I am." So he doesn't speak. He speaks in whispers, and he stresses vowels out, but he talks like this. So he's got like a I don't know if it's a marijuana pipe or whatever it is. Drake is very much. He's got a metallic helmet, chains, lots of mummy wraps. He's a shell of what he once was. This is sort of before, there's afterwards. So he's got like a skeletal rib cage, exoskeleton, some hooks, some chains, the kind you put like pulleys and levers and such, winches. So he's sort of like, he's got these glowing yellow eyes, dark eyes. So he's sort of mummified. He's like a shell of what he once was. It's hard to say if he's alive or dead, but there he is. So we round out these group of people, this fabulous five of people that I first created in one incarnation or one form in August 10th, 2000. So many years ago. So in this version that I created back in 2017, they look radically different. So you can kind of tell who was who and who was what. But now, under a better story, I can now put these five together the way they need to be, the way they should be. So they're not officially called the Outcasters anymore, but they are the solution to what the Devastators were in Grim Planet. These are the antithesis. So they're the enemies of the Grim Planet group, the Devastators. So during this page, let me see. I think it's Hidoi or Kudoi, annoying Kudoi. I'm not sure if that's Kudoi. You say Kudoi. I think that is. It's hard to remember my Japanese sometimes. So Drake introduces himself. I am Drake. That one on the floor. He is Jorge. Sorry to intrude. We need shelter. So, she's like, we're not doing charity, especially if you're one of the deceased. Though since the hospital's temporarily shut down, we might make an exception. We are not deceased. We do contribute. So, Drake is saying, he can confirm our health. A doctor, a scientist, a sumo wrestler, and me, I can see, but sure is no fucking point to you. So, it's just a little bit of banter going back and forth. Drake points a gun to his chest and fires. And at this point, he's just like, it says, I simply won't die. And Rosemary says, yeah, the fuck you won't. So everybody's getting to know each other. Rye was age 8 years old when he started to demonstrate, genius abilities at Stanford. And he could build anything, including that of an Apple IIc computer. He showed high IQ. His parents sent him to Los Angeles to a school for gifted children. So he lived in New York and then he went to Los Angeles and everything seemed fine. But after the devastation happened, there was an atomic bomb that was dropped in New York City for whatever reason. New York had been transformed into a robot city in a matter of months. So Rice says that the person who transformed New York into a robot city wasn't Zetro Ray. It wasn't Zetro's fault, but somebody else, a female robot. This fembot was once a human Latina female. So the backstory to Ashcan, as I call her, Ashcan was once a Latina who killed her daddy and then killed her boyfriend to gain independence. She got into politics and she corrupted politics. And when all seemed lost for her, she turned into a robot. That's the short version of that. I have a longer version that I'll share with you all later on because she is the first fictional female I ever created way back in early 97 and is based on someone I knew in high school. So this is another villain. We will see, I will show these just before the end of this story, before the end of this chapter. So after a little bit of banter between Rye and Rosemary, Drake explains his origin a little bit. Since it's based on me, I'll tell it. 2 years ago, Human was me, friends from high school, the server boy, the DJ, the Needle Point girl, my perfect girlfriend, nice life, Christian school. We did a road trip, the 5 of us, a town near Mount Rushmore, a blackout, devastation, all of us electrocuted. I survive only. All electricity stopped in South Dakota. Very strange. So Drake should have been dead, but he survived somehow, and he became this zombie, dead mummy thing. And Jorge, he was an amateur wrestler. He did sports and worked as a security guard. The real Jorge was a security guard and he went to college with me. So there's different origin stories for each of the characters. And let me see here. I've heard. So all of the accounts of the stories connect to the circus freaks. So, Ashcan was responsible for Rye. Um, I forget, Sparks was responsible for Drake's evolution, and Spitmutt, or Mutt, M-U-T-T, was responsible for, I think it was Jorge's creation. So these three are responsible for helping to form the Outcasters in one form or another. So on this page, Rosemary talks about keeping the igloo safe. What's in there? Is there weapons? Are there drugs in there? Is there money in there? Are there people in there? Um, so what Rai wants to do is he wants to build, a security system so that Zetro, Ray, and the others can't get to them. So they're talking, going back and forth, and what can they do? They have an escape plan. Hawaii sounds like a nice change of pace. Might be, but he's thinking about the gold and silver that could be lost forever to that miserable tyrant. Uh, she talks about whether or not where Zetro would be, South America, and the Wooloo zombies, and so there's a little bit of stuff just kind of going through exposition and what Zetro might do with his reign of terror. He's got these giant Zetro bots the size of houses, but what are you going to do? What kind of empire are you going to build? These villains, they have delusions of grandeur, but they don't have enough to really, they don't know exactly what they do. Once they get to that point, they don't know what to do. They're like deer in headlights. There's a little scene here, but there's a flying insect, a robot that's been watching Rai. It's like, who's that? Wah. He's like, hey. And Rai says, like, and he said, Kamo janai ne. Kamo shi janai ne. Kamera mo shiranai desu. I think it's a camera. Hi. So this is kamera, and this is an assumption. It's an kamo shiranai desu, like it's an assumption of something. Hayaide, hayaide. How fast can you do this? Hayaide, hayaku, hayaide. That means that he can do something really quickly. Hayaide. So, Japanese, I took like I studied Japanese for a year since 2009, so that's why it almost feels natural to me. But we go to Zetrolok, or Zetro Ray, that he's actually in Peru. So on this chapter here, we're going to a different place. There's a flying insect robot returning home. So Zetro is saying here, spy. These characters mean spy. This wavy lines means lie or counterfeit. This is, it's a lady, obviously this is a ladybug on Earth, but on Zetro's home planet, it's a class of ladybug the size of a rat. So it's a ladybug the size of a baseball, but it has like bones in its legs so that it could actually exist in the real world. So it's a giant ladybug. So it's a robot ladybug and returning. This arrow means return. Mutt says, actually, I think the character, instead of Sparks, it's Eco. I changed the name. So this character here is Eco, this is Mutt, and this is Ashcan. So these are the three circus freaks that are talking to Zetro Ray as the giant Zetro Ray is talking. So the ladybug is returning, the robot ladybug is returning. Mutt says, I don't know. I don't think so. And Eco says, wait. And here it's like over there in the distance. So Eco has a weird way of talking. Talks like, yeah. So it's like an echoey. Mutt says, ooh, like a really ugly, gravelly voice. Like if you try to imagine your dog talking or your cat talking, it sounds funny. It sounds, it sounds really weird. And Ashcan talks like a robotic, like a microphone kind of echoey voice. So they're going over all the whatever the spy insect found. And in this, So Rai talks a little bit. Rai Shotoshima Rai des. Mazuni, I forget some of this. This is study. Kenkyu no tameno ko. I forgot some of this. So obviously they translate this. So the Walu, the Walu is the alien race of different species. You can see on the top. There's Zetra on the right. So Rai has discovered the alien arm from Grim Planet, in which he's looking at it and saying, could this thing be cloned? So he somehow came upon the alien arm and is now trying to figure out the cloning process. So all this is trial and error, trial and error. Um, I think the circus freaks have kind of figured out Rai's really smart. Um, and so the alien creature can survive on Earth, but with small pockets of helium taken to its system. So with helium and oxygen, this creature can survive. Um, Such a ray. So Rai is doing research. So 2011, 2012, 2013, he's figuring out things. I think the devastation happened. Let me go back. I think it was December, somewhere in 2011. I think it was December 11, 20. No, I'm not sure. Maybe it was September 11th, 2011. I'm not sure exactly, but I think it was something like that. Or maybe it was before. I'm getting my continuity not exactly right. But by the time Rai is about 10 years old or so, or 11, he's he's been helping Rosa Maria. He's been helping Dr. Gino. He's been doing all these different things. So he's figuring out a way to clone the alien Zetro into a new species, which is maybe with a hybrid human DNA, different experiments. And the problem is that it's the whole racist point of view of you're cloning an alien terrorist. You know, if you cloned Hitler, people would say, "Oh, that's a bad idea." But maybe somebody would say, "What if I cloned Adolf Hitler because a clone of Adolf Hitler could be a good person and not a bad person? Like you can look exactly like Adolf, but not have the little mustache and not have a Nazi bandana and do productive work for society. It's okay to look like Hitler, but not be Hitler, if that makes sense." So I guess from Rai's point of view, he's interested in this because it's science and you're a scientist and you're going to ask questions and answer them. So that's what he does. He tries to answer a lot of questions, but he doesn't do it out loud. But meanwhile, the circus freaks have their own delusions of grandeur. Ashcan wants to raise a society of robots or a civilization of robots or a nation of robots. Mutt wants to raise a nation of intelligent animals. Eco doesn't care. Energy is energy. Eco is living a living electricity, living energy. So Eco doesn't care as long as energy and electricity exists overall. Zetro Ray says this intelligent being, intelligent child, human, is amazing. And Eco agrees, saying, yes, I agree. This echoey, like imagine talking through a fan, like talking through a spinning fan. And that's how his voice sounds a little echoey. And Zetro Ray says humans will produce Wala and Walu planet. So Zetro Ray now sees Rai as this way of creating life. So Rai is the key to a lot of things. For Zetralok to create and exact his revenge and to say, I'm going to create this new world with Walu people. So it's this alien continuing his reign of terror on the little boy by using the child to create aliens, a new alien species. So the Zetrobots were sort of a poor way of having an army, a colony. But now, and the Wooloo zombies were a poor attempt at getting humans to become Walu. It's like trying to turn a giraffe into a chimp or turning a chimp into a bird. You just can't just simply do that because you want to. So Rai has kind of broken the DNA code and figured out a way to clone aliens. So long story short, he's figured out a way to conquer Earth properly. So it's a Rosa Kimiga. I need to borrow. What are you doing exactly? She says, Kochira, uh, Tonderu camera, flying camera Mitsukita. I found this flying camera. So he shows, this is a little bit of another scene of people fighting. This is between Laura Schaefer and Kris Kringle Clarity in Mississippi. So Laura Schaefer is in charge of the Pink Society, which kind of predicted the way, the force is female, women are always right, men are always wrong. The sort of the He-Man Haters Club, Women's Club kind of thing, feminist club. So it's like considering marriage to a man rape and such like that. And Kris Kringle Clarity is like a 13-year-old kid who represents white pride, white power, putting a hood on and burning crosses and all that old-fashioned garbage. So these two fight each other to the death. Chris shoots Laura with a poison arrow, and then Laura shoots Chris with a poison gas. So they both kill each other. And it's very sad. I mean, there's nothing left. So in here, he's saying, wake up, damn you. So Laura looks at the camera flying above. They know they're being watched, this whole blood fight. Whoever you are, Hattiesburg is completely gone. The disease have expired. My mother, who cared for my father, but my friends, my Pink Society, feminazis, KKK, neo-Nazis, Panthers, gangbangers. Let there be a clean slate. Forget our blood. So Rosemary's appalled. So the camera turns off. And so Rice says, Rosa, this is what the American states are. Blue people, red people, white is right, black is tack, brown is frown. Meanwhile, big alien robot and his friend, Minnie Frank, go and terrorize. His English is still bad here. Terrorize everything like it's nothing. What is it about? What we about? No more fighting, no more ego huggy. Just take apart, put together Humpty Dumpty. So they got to figure out to destroy Zetro Ray. They have to work together and stop fighting each other for a new constitution, for a new order, because the real bad guy is still out there. You can't just do that. So there's somebody knocking at the door of the Symphony Hall, and it's Roth. It's actually Roth McGoth, the Mexican Avenger and his talking cat Valiant, Rascal Brown, and Frankenstein. So they have a little bit of conversation, Roseberry and Roth McGoth. She thought he died, but she's happy that he made it. Alfredo talks about that the Vengabot, the robot, Alfredo. So a lot of Mexican militia didn't make it. Valiant finally says something. He says, thank you, Rose, like in that cat voice. And it was very important for Valiant not to talk during the fight between the Mexican militia and the Skullbashers, because then it would be too funny it would undermine the seriousness of the situation. So you have Rascal Brown, and you have a few other characters who survived Frankenstein. And so here's what she says. There are now 10 when there were 5. I don't motherfucking know what that means. This is the last paragraph here. But one thing is for sure. It's like the kids said, if we keep on fighting each other with our right-wing, left-wing religion, demonizing garbage, we might as well pull another Jerry Reaper and fuck ourselves up. This is the time, this is the place now. We have to turn things around. So that's it for this week. Next week we'll go through the glossary a little bit, and we'll start to show exactly how the Outcasters coming together brings about more people coming together, and instead of fighting each other, that more can get done. And so this is no longer a story about flipping off people and shitting at people, shooting at people, but it's about starting to help people, starting to work together. It's about trust. It's about seeing past your ego, seeing past people, so that something good and positive can come out of a negative nonsense. So until next week.